Hello everyone, good morning. This is 9:28 my time, and then this is a follow up on the promise to do a recording on the SQL map activity we were doing in class where we had an error. So sorry, I don't have a screenshot of that error, and I've shown it to you. But then let's just start afresh. So for those that have not installed the DVWA that we use to practice SQL injection, the command to install it will be sudo apt install apt install DVWA. So you press enter and then you enter your Kali password, and you press yes when it prompts you. Then you wait for a couple of minutes and then your DVWA will be installed. So for those that have installed it like myself and others that did it in class, all we need to do now is just to start the service. Sudo DVWA start. So once you click on this and press enter, it should ask you for your Kali password if you have not entered your password before. But if you have, it's just going to start the service and automatically open a new tab for you. So this is our application tab now. And if you remember in class, username is admin and password is password. You press enter and you go. So for those that will just be installing the application afresh, you'd have to set up your DB. So you come to this part, set up or reset DB. You scroll down to this place, create or reset database, and you click on this link. So it's going to give you all of these prompts to create or reset database and stuff. So once you're done with that step, we can now also check our security level. So you come to DVWA security, you change this impossible to low, and then you click on submit. So now we are on low security level and we have set up our DB. So let's go back to SQL injection. A quick recap of what we did in class. So like I said, anytime you see a text box or something, for you to put an input and you want to test for SQL injection, the first input that should come to mind should be quotes, right? So when you try quotes should normally give you like an error that shows that this is uh, this is a database error and all. So but when we enter quotes here, it gives us a blank page. It doesn't give us an error um, that works, but ideally it's just going to normally if we try an erroneous command like say error now, so see that's an error, obvious erroneous input, but it's still loading the same page. But when we try quotes, it gives us a blank page. So maybe that's an idea that let's check for further SQL injection. But even before we start SQL injection, what is this page? What is the normal output that this page is supposed to give us? So let's try one. When we click on submit, so basically this is supposed to give us the names and the first names and the surname of the people on the database. So that is what it's supposed to do. So when we tried quotes, it gave us a blank page. And if you remember our SQL injection command, this now, if I break this, let me break this down. Let me copy it and bring it to this text bar. Like I said in class, this first quote here is supposed to give us an error page. Alright, so we said okay, SQL, this web application, instead of giving me an error page, you take this or you take this. So since this guys, the web application is going to give an error page for the first input, then it's going to take the second input, and the second input said that or one equal to one. So for every time one is equal to one, just dump all the inputs you have. So basically one, we know that one will always be equal to one. So this application here will just dump all the inputs that it has. So this is a clear indication that this application is vulnerable to SQL injection. And then we could keep trying other commands like the ones we tried in class to find the name of the database, the version, the name of the user, and all of that. I shared the commands in class, so you can refer to your notes for that. So now the challenge now is to try and exploit this application with SQL map. So SQL map is an application that you use to automate SQL injection. So like I said in class, for commands. Yeah, when you use man to see how you can use a command, say man nano, to see how you can use a command. SQL map is an application. So to see how you can use SQL map, you use SQL map with the switch H. H means help. So when you click on this, or sorry, when you press enter, it's going to give you options on how to use SQL map. It's going to tell you to use a URL, you use dash U, to use Google Doc, sorry, use dash G, you use dash cookie to put the cookie information, you use minus P to test a parameter, you use different stuff. You use dash A to retrieve everything on the database, dash B for banner and all of that. So now that means we have some inputs we need to feed into SQL map before it works. So now let's format our input. So the first thing we'll do is let's go back to this SQL injection page. Let me go to home so that I can have a fresh page. And then go back to SQL injection. So now let me just type one. So I have one here. So this one gives me my URL, right? So I'm going to put my URL in this place. Let me put it in a notepad. I'm going to put my URL in this place. And then remember in the options for SQL injection, it says where we can put cookies. Yeah, so cookie information. So we're going to get cookie information, right click on an empty page and click on inspect. So when you click on inspect, you can expand this one to make it bigger a bit. Then you go to network. So under network, you can refresh this page so that you see the information that it has. So here, this is the URL we are looking at. This URL that has slash vulnerability slash SQLI ID. Basically the URL we copied. So you click on this, then you come to cookies, and then you see the cookie value. So right click on any one of them and then copy all. So now let's paste our cookie value here. So now let's format it very well. Remember in the help page for SQL injection, it says that the URL, see the example he gave us for target URL, it has to be in quotes. See the example it also gave us for cookies, it has to be in quotes, right? So let's format this properly. So we can say this, let's put this in quotes. Let me just do it here. I'm going to put this in quotes. Then I'm also going to do dash as cookie, and let me see how it says I should do it. Cookie, okay, equal to cookie, right? So cookie equal to, this is my cookie. Remember, it's going to be in quote. Only the cookie value will be in quotes. So we'll have to remove all of these quotes that is in between the value. So we'll do this. Let's remove this and then change this column to equal to. Also remove that quote and this one too. But because this is another value in the cookie, this has like two request cookies here. So the first cookie is PHP session ID, the second cookie is security. So we use semicolon to differentiate the two cookies. Then let's also delete this quotes and change this column to equal to, so that we have a complete cookie now. So we see cookie equal to PHP session ID. The session ID is this, and then security is low. So basically this is all that we need for the inputs for SQL map. So let's copy this, and don't forget let's do SQL map with sudo SQL map, so that in case we need admin access. So I'm going to paste. Remember the help page says that U is for URL, right? So I have to put U before I paste whatever I want to paste. I've pasted this, and then let's look at the options for SQL map. This option says that A is to retrieve everything, this is to dump all the database, passwords, this. So let's retrieve everything that we can get on this database. So let's do dash dash all. So I'll do dash dash all, and let's see what it gives me. So it's saying, all right, so see the page. Okay, so I think because I have done this before. Okay, so let me do something. I'm going to delete my results for. Do you want? Okay, so let's look at this first before I delete my results. Do you want SQL map to try to optimize values? So let's see. Let's try to. Let's click on yes. To optimize the value and stuff. So we have the information on our database dumped. So this is a table on the database. So depending on depending on what you want, this is giving us a lot of information. So maybe we will not pick all for the next text test. Okay, so let me see. All right, so it's still fetching because it's a lot. Databases have different information now. So it's still fetching all of this information that in the database. But um, okay, all right, okay. So I think I'm going to cancel these tests, right? And then I'm going to delete this result because it saves the result in a folder, right? It saves this result in a folder. So I'm going to delete the result so that we can do the test afresh again. So remember the command um to cd into a folder. So I'm going to do cd root. So I'm trying to enter into this folder, right? So I'm going to enter into this part up until output. So cd root local, sorry, so dot local. If you remember what dot means, so it means that it's an hidden folder, right? So share and then SQL map, then output. So it's telling me permission denied. If we're in class, I would have asked what we're going to do, but we're not in class. So basically, if it's telling, this is the concept of authorization. So I'm just going to do sudo to be able to enter into that folder. So come in cd. Okay, all right. So I think I'm just going to. All right, let me try something else. Okay, sudo cd. Let me do it one by one. Root. All right. So see the option we are getting. Let's try cd minus s then. Oh, it cannot be run directly. Well, I need to delete this. Okay, so let me just do something here. So I'm going to copy this guy up onto this. Maybe that is not a folder, maybe it's a file. So sudo. So to delete a file in Kali, I'm going to use rm. Rm is to remove, and I'm going to use r. R means recursive. That means I keep doing it over and over again, and F is to do it forcefully. So sudo this, and I'm going to paste that folder here. So now it should have deleted everything I have for this result. So since I can't cd into this, then that means maybe it's a file, right? So I have deleted everything I have for my local host, every SQL map I have run against my against this IP address. So I'm going to try and run that SQL map command again, but this time around I am not going to dump all. I'm just going to dump maybe. So let's look at SQL map help so that we can see what we want to dump. So I'm going to dump I want to dump the current user, and I want to dump the current database. I want to dump the banner, and I want to dump the let me dump the database entries. So yeah, SQL map. So like I said, I want to dump the banner. So banner is, I could use dash banner, or I could do dash b. And I also want to dump the current user. You notice that I'm not using comma for all any of these command. I'm just typing them one after the other. So current db, and I'm also going to dump. So let me dump the database value dump. All right, so let's see what we get from here. So you should have the same thing this way. um, so now if you look at the result is telling us that this one might not be injectable, but we're not sure yet. So now it says get parameter id appears to be my SQL, and then time based injectable. So now it has done a couple of tests on it, and then it finds that okay, it's actually injectable. Now it says that it looks like the backend DBMS is my SQL. So now we have a version of the database that the application is running. Now it says, do I want to skip test payload specific for that DBMS? So let me just skip those ones, and then say for the remaining tests, do I want to include all tests for my SQL? Say yes, let me include all tests for SQL. This thing. Now look at this now. Now that's confirmed and says get parameter is generic and is injectable. So it says the ID, get parameter ID is vulnerable. Do I want to keep testing the other? Because I know that this ID is vulnerable. Let me start with ID. So I'm going to type no. Now this is what it says. After I typed no here, it says SQL map identified the following injection points. Basically, these are the tests that SQL map does. So we could do this manually, but it's going to be stressful because I mean, why do you want to type all of these commands manually when you have a tool that can automate it for you? Now remember we dumped database version. So it's telling us the backend database is my SQL. This is confirmed. You see it's putting it in bold. It's also giving us the web application technology Nginx. It has given us the version, the full version of the database, MySQL, and this. And see the banner that we dumped here. So this is the banner that we dumped. Fetching current user. So this is the current user, DVWA at localhost. Fetching current database. This is the current database, right? So now it says now it's going to fetch current database. This is DVWA. This is the column, this is the entries. So this is the database, and this is what we have in database. Now we have other information here. So now the good thing about SQL map is it saves all of these informations that it opens, that it gets for you in a file, so that you can access it later. So now it says fetching column for table users in database, fetching entries for users. So basically now it's going to get users and password hashes now. So these are password hashes. Remember what you do with hashes now. Hashes is to sort of change the form of your password, or the form, or to get the digital signature of a file. So it depends. Password have been, if your password is ABCDEF, when you enter it into an application, the password is hashed. Yeah, so it hashes the password to change the value, so that somebody that sees the hash value of your password now will not know what it is. So now this is saying, do I want to store these hashes in a temporary file? I can store it if I want. Yep. Now it has stored the file into a it has stored the password into a temporary file. But it's not asking me, do I want to crack it via this dictionary base? It would be a good idea to crack the password, but it's going to take a while. So you can do it on your own. You can type yes here to crack it. So you have to wait for a couple of minutes for the cracking to finish. But because this is a recorded session, I'm going to type no, I don't want to crack the password. So it has given me, and it has saved all the information that I did. So now look at the information it got: the user ID, the user avatar, like maybe username, the failed login, the password, the last name. So look at all these users here. These are their password hashes. This is the password hash of this user. This is user Brown. Or this is when the user last logged in. This is their user ID. Like if you remember here, user ID, user one is admin. So you see admin here, right? So user two here is or Gordon, I think. So this is Gordon Brown. So this is Gordon B. This is the username, and this is his password. That's his last name. If you check for user 3, that is who is this? Me. Okay, so hack me. So yeah, so we have their information. So if you want to crack the password on your own, you can use online tool like crack station, crack Station.net. So this online tool is it has a dictionary of passwords. So you can look up this concept, just browse it and understand what it means. So rainbow table, it will help you understand how this website is able to crack password hashes. Or you can just even read up this part, but if you want more information you can read up on rainbow table. So I'm going to copy these hashes. Let me copy this first one and see if crack station can crack it for me. Right click and copy, let me paste it in. Crack hashes. So it tells me, yeah, so this is the hash, this is the password, this is the result of the hash that I just cracked. I remember when we wanted to log into the application afresh, we use admin as username and we use password as password. So this is correct. Let's see if we can crack this guy's password too. Let's see if we can crack Brown's password. You always have to click that you are not a robot. Let's crack this guy. So now this is the password for crack, for Brown ABC123. So let's see if it works. Let's log out and then try to log in with Brown's command, Brown's credential. Sorry, so ABC123. Alright, so it says login failed. For some reason, I don't know why it failed. Maybe Brown is not an admin on the database. So, yep. Alright, so this is another user hack me. So let's crack this. Let's crack hashes. Charlie. The password for hack me is Charlie. So and so on and so forth. So basically, SQL map. You did the first test we did dumped every single information on the database. So if you have all the time and you have all the space and the resources to do that, you can dump it. Then go look at it one after the other and see what information is interesting to you as an hacker. But basically, this is like a miniature version of what is in database. We just checked for the tables in the database, we checked for the banner, we checked for the current user, and we checked for the database version and all of that. So if you format your inputs correctly like this, you should not have any error. um okay, thank you very much. That'll be the end of this recording.